By this point in the Testament of Solomon, Solomon had already encountered a handful of very unique demons. Demons that, whilst are exclusive to this text, certainly do leave an impression on us. Perhaps one of the more intense encounters of the story thus far takes place when Solomon comes face to face with the demon known as Asmodeus. For those of you who haven't seen the video on Asmodeus in the Angels and Demons Explained series, I advise you to have a look when you get the chance, where you can see how this terrible demon plagues the lives of others and how ultimately is destroyed by the Archangel Raphael. We last left Solomon on the heels of his encounter with the she-demon Onoskeles, who Solomon puts to work in the building of his temple. It is thought that after this, Solomon sends either Beelzebub or another lesser demon to bring him yet another demon for him to interrogate. It is the demon Asmodeus who is led to Solomon, and we immediately get a sense that this isn't going to be a simple encounter. Solomon tells us that when he asks the demon for his name, saying, "Who art thou?" Asmodeus shoots him a glance of anger and rage, saying, "And who art thou?" Simply by this refusal to answer Solomon and the insulting way in which he replies, we can tell that Asmodeus is a force to be reckoned with. He does not sound like he is used to being questioned by the likes of men, and unlike the previous demons, shows Solomon no fear nor any reverence. If anything, he views Solomon as an inconvenience, whereby we either get a sense of how powerful he really is, or perhaps how much he underestimates Solomon. You'll notice that none of the other demons, not even the principal demon's Beelzebub, dares to speak to Solomon in this fashion. Solomon demands of him to give him his name, but Asmodeus shows further defiance and gives us quite a lot to dissect. He says at first, "But how shall I answer thee? For thou art a son of man, whereas I was born an angel's seed by a daughter of man, so that no word of our heavenly kind addressed to the earthborn can be overweening." Already this is a pretty big revelation that Asmodeus pretty much tells us that he is the child of an angel and a woman. We not only gather that he thinks he is too good to answer Solomon, who is a mere mortal, but also that there is no one on earth who should even dare to think about questioning one as great as him. Whilst we are not given any more information about Asmodeus' parentage, some look to the Book of Enoch, where it is documented that angels known as the Watchers descended upon the mortal women and had sex with them. It is thought that the women in this story produced the Nephilim, ugly giants that nearly destroyed the world. But could it be that one of these women gave birth to a demon in Asmodeus? If this was the case, it would imply that Asmodeus escaped the purge of the Nephilim that saw them destroyed by the archangels, as well as escaping the flood later sent by God. It is no wonder then that he sees himself as the bee's knees, and why he refuses to answer Solomon because of his arrogance. For one so keen on not answering Solomon though, he does give him a lot of information as he continues, "Wherefore also my star is bright in heaven, and men call it, some the Wain, and some the Dragon's Child." Here Asmodeus tells Solomon that his star is bright in heaven, or that he has a place in heaven, possibly something he feels entitled to, given that his father was an angel. Furthermore, the star he speaks of he refers to as the Wain, which interestingly shows up in Homer's Iliad in reference to the asteroid known as the Big Dipper. Homer also identifies the Wain as a bear frequently being the shape in which many associate the Big Dipper with. Personally, I don't see a bear, but more like a ladle. But in any case, Asmodeus claims the star is his, but we are not given any more as to its significance to him, other than he keeps near to it. It is the last bit of this sentence which intrigues me the most, where he refers to himself as the Dragon's Child. Whilst we are not given confirmation of what this means in the text, many point to Asmodeus being the son of Lucifer, in that Lucifer was once an angel, as well as being one who transformed into a dragon in the Book of Revelations. Through this loose bit of detective work, one might say that Asmodeus is revealing to Solomon of the identity of his father, the biggest and baddest demon of them all. Once more, it is no wonder why he deems himself so above Solomon, and why he believes he has a place in heaven, for his father was once the most favoured angel of God before his betrayal. He continues to tell Solomon, "So ask me not many things, for thy kingdom also after a little time is to be disrupted, and thy glory is but for a season, and short will be thy tyranny over us. And then we shall again have free range over mankind, so as that they shall revere us as if we were gods, not knowing, men that they are, the names of the angels set over us. Here Asmodeus appears to predict the downfall of Solomon and tells him not to be so cocky in his capturing of the demons, for his glory is but for a season, or that his glory won't last much longer. Asmodeus brings with him the foreboding warning that while Solomon has rulership over the demons, they will be free again one day, and that the humans will look to them like gods. Whether or not this is a bluff or not is unclear, but Asmodeus' predictions of Solomon's glory aren't exactly untrue, given that the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah are separated in the wake of Solomon's death, and do not reconcile either. Asmodeus might also be referring to the fact that people would come to worship false gods as opposed to God himself, or that people would come to turn away from religion and forge their own paths through unscrupulous means. He seems to believe that the demons will have their last laugh in the end, and the humans will be powerless to do anything about it. For one, they won't even realize, and even if they did, they will not know the names of the angels to call out to in order to stop it. By this point, Solomon is sick of Asmodeus' yapping. He recognizes the power of the demon though, and quickly has him bound even tighter. He then proceeds to have him flogged, and tortures him until the demon becomes more obedient. Once more, he asks the demon for his name, which Asmodeus is quick to supply, having been shown no mercy. He tells Solomon, "I am called Asmodeus among mortals, and my business is to plot against the newly wedded, so that they may not know one another. And I sever them utterly by many calamities, and I waste away the beauty of virgin women, and estrange their hearts." You'll notice he gives away a lot more than just his name, but explains exactly what his purpose is, much as the other demons had done. We learn here that he conspires against the newly wedded, something we see him do in the apocryphal book of Tobit, whereby Asmodeus plagues a woman named Sarah by killing her husbands before they can consummate their marriage. He does this multiple times to the woman, forcing her to experience heartbreak after heartbreak, and leading her to believe that she is ultimately cursed. Therefore, his claim that he severs man and woman by utter calamity, wastes away the woman's beauty, and estranges her heart isn't just a bold statement, but an actual truth. Solomon is baffled by this. He asks, "Is this thy only business?" Which to me sounds like he's suddenly underwhelmed by the demon's use of his time, especially when we consider the power of Asmodeus. But Asmodeus proceeds to elaborate, saying, "I transport men into fits of madness and desire, when they have wives of their own, so that they leave them, and go off by night and day to others that belong to other men, with the result that they commit sin and fall into murderous deeds." Here we learn that Asmodeus is responsible for more trickery, in that he appeals to the desire of men, almost similarly to Onosculus and Orneus. However, as these two demons take the form of women to seduce their victims, Asmodeus seems to incite lust within man, and causes him to find a mate of his own. We also learn that Asmodeus promotes adultery, and that his objective is to get men to cheat on their spouses. In his other deeds, he seems to incite a madness in men that causes them to murder each other, or murder the husbands of the women in which they crave. By this, we can gather that Asmodeus loathes the idea of marriage and monogamy, and he seeks to manipulate those who are in love into betraying their partners. This also has the effect of causing the victim to sin, and thus, like most demons, they cause their victim to fall off the righteous path and disgrace themselves under the eyes of God. Asmodeus therefore is no different to any other demon, in that he seeks to corrupt mankind and wants them to give in to their more carnal nature. Asmodeus proceeds to reveal to Solomon that he is most scared of the archangel Raphael, and that it is Raphael who holds power over him and ultimately defeats him. Of course, as mentioned, we see Raphael do this in the book of Tobit, as he asks Tobit to ward away Asmodeus by burning fish liver. It's understood in the book of Tobit that Asmodeus cannot stand the smell that this creates, and is therefore flushed from the dwelling in which he haunts the maiden Sarah, and later apprehended by Raphael. The Testament of Solomon here provides a nod to this event, and shows us that with all demons, even one as scary as Asmodeus, there is an angel who can defeat them. Interestingly, the Testament of Solomon directly references the event in the Book of Tobit, as Asmodeus tells Solomon, "By Raphael the Archangel, that stands before the throne of God, but the liver and the gall of a fish put me to flight, when smoked over the ashes of the tamarisk." He even tells Solomon the exact fish needed to get him to yield, and that it is a large fish known as a glanus, or a sheatfish. He even tells Solomon where to find it. Solomon demands Asmodeus to tell him more, but Asmodeus begs Solomon to show mercy, and promises that he has already told him everything. In fact, he becomes so unraveled in this interrogation that he proceeds to panic, even pleading with Solomon not to send him into the river, because water turns out to be his biggest weakness. Upon hearing this, Solomon smiles in the demon's face and gives him a most cruel and creative punishment that paints Solomon as one of the biggest trolls in biblical history. He states, "As the Lord God of my fathers liveth, I will lay iron on thee to wear, but thou shalt also make the clay of the entire construction of the temple, treading it down with thy feet." And I ordered them to give him 10 water jars to carry water in, and the demon groaned terribly, and did the work I ordered him to do. So not only does he make Asmodeus wear heavy armour and force him to tread the clay for the temple, but he also does this whilst making Asmodeus hold jars full of water. Evidently, we see Asmodeus does not take kindly to this, but he is powerless to stop Solomon, and so must do as he says. We know this causes Asmodeus great pain, but it doesn't exactly stop there either. Solomon tells us that whilst Asmodeus works, he burns that same fish liver over Asmodeus on a reed, and forces him to endure this agony as he works on the temple. You might think that Solomon is being harsh here, but in actuality he's probably being quite wise. Note, Asmodeus thus far was the only demon to refuse him and to act so vengeful that he'd been brought to him in the first place. It's possible that Solomon was actually scared of Asmodeus, and that he went through the efforts of having the demon flogged and subjugating him to his worst nightmares as more of a precaution than out of malice. It's also likely that Solomon did this because of what Asmodeus said about demons striking back against the humans, and that this struck a chord with him, causing him to take the demon's words seriously. In his final words on the demon, Solomon tells us, "And this I did, because that fierce demon Asmodeus knew even the future. And I, Solomon, glorified God, who gave wisdom to me, Solomon, his servant. And the liver of the fish and the gall I hung on a spike of a reed, and burned it over Asmodeus, because of his being so strong and his unbearable malice was thus frustrated." If you'd like to learn more about Asmodeus and his role within the Book of Tobit, be sure to check out my video on the demon in the Angels and Demons Explained series. In the meantime, I hope you're enjoying these stories on the Testament of Solomon. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Until the next time, guys.